Welcome back to Not So Grand Garage. As you can tell, I'm out in the shop. It's fairly late, but I've got a lot of work to get done if I'm going to get this thing on the road again anytime soon. As you can see, the bed is back on the frame. It's not permanent. It's sitting up on blocks right now. Had some people over, had some kids over the other day, and didn't feel comfortable with this thing sitting up on drums in the driveway with kids running around, so went on to sit it back on the truck. It does complicate me running lines and such a little bit, but oh well, it is what it is. I've got fuel line to run. We've got 1/2" ID 5/8 OD aluminum line. We've got 3/8 aluminum return, so this will be the supply for the rear tank, return for the rear tank. We've got WVO Designs heated filter head. We've got compression fittings and barbs and all sorts of goodies there. We've got insulated stainless clamps to mount everything securely to the frame. I've also got a fresh coil of copper nickel brake line, so I can run the new line from the ABS module to the rear axle, get that all mounted up. I've also got the wiring harnesses sorted out. I made two separate harnesses. One is the factory lights and ABS sensor for the rear end. The other harness is auxiliary and electric brake power for the 7-pin connector. I also went on and ran 3 extra 12-gauge runs of wire in that harness that will run from under hood all the way to the tail of the truck. They're just going to be tucked up out of the way. That way, if I ever have a need for another circuit, I'll already have wiring in place. I won't have to mess with it. I can just tie in, hook it up, and be done. But anyways, enough of the chit chat. I got a lot of work to do, and I'm not sure how well you all are going to be able to see everything, but we're going to make do and see what we can do. Let's get at it. Kind of hard to tell, but with the lighting under here, but everything behind where the side saddle fuel tank mounts has been cleaned up, painted, so won't have to worry much about that. But first up, I want to address that brake line. So I'm going to go on and disconnect it there and start from the back, work our way forward. I would like to mount this line as high and tight as possible. Hopefully we'll be able to clear everything nicely. I'm a little concerned with the shock mount working around it, but we'll get that figured out. And that's something else. I've got another one for this side. As you can see, well, you might be able to see, that one is cracked and looks like it's starting to rust through. The shadow is right in the way, but it needs to be cut off and fixed. So we'll be doing that too. But first up, we're gonna get these lines made up and ran and go from there. I'm not gonna bore you too much with making brake lines and such. You've seen me do that. So we'll get this line bent up and get some clamps up in place and see how it works out. So we're using copper nickel line from the Stop Shop, and as you can see, we get good flare pretty well every time. And I use this little tool right here. I've got one for 3/16 and one for 1/4 inch line. They work really well, and I'll put a link to those in the video description. They're pretty handy to have, and they're not very expensive. But I got really tired of the chintzy little flare tools, and I've not had a bad flare come out of this tool yet, and I've replaced a lot of brake lines. So yeah, I'll put a link to it and I may show you how it works on one of these if I remember to. But anyways, gotta get back at it. So we're making progress. I'm running the 3/8 return and the brake line simultaneously because I'm putting 2 clamps on 1 bolt at every clamp location. As you can see, I'm arching the lines around everything and making them fit nice. It is time consuming, but as you can see, the lines are pretty rigid. The brake line has a little bit more movement, but it's not enough to where it can get into anything. So I think we'll be good there, especially once I tighten that into the fitting down. That is just threaded in hand tight so it can move a little bit. But yeah, now come up here. Once I get past this point right here, I'm going to tuck the brake and return line high and tight to the top of the frame rail as best I can to keep it up out of the way. The fun one is going to be that big 5/8 aluminum supply line from the rear tank. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. I may run soft line for a little bit longer or something. It's going to be really tight, especially in around this shock mount area. So I'm not sure there yet. I may even consider just running it down the other side of the frame, which really wouldn't be a big deal. But yeah, I'm not sure yet. Because I could run it down the other side of the frame for a ways, or heck, I could actually do it all the way down. It wouldn't really matter. So I might do it that way. We'll see. Anyways, we're gonna keep at it and get these 2 lines ran all the way forward and go from there. Well, progress has been pretty good. We've got brake line ran front to back. We've got our fuel return line brought up to where the valves are. And as you can see, our lines are running all the way back to the back of the truck. We're using insulated stainless clamps, and we got them about every, I'd say 18 to 20 inches, something like that. Should work pretty well. So next up, now that I've got that done, I think I'm going to tie up the harnesses, going and route them back. But I think instead of using the clamps and drilling more holes in the frame, I don't think that's necessary. I think I will just use zip ties and tie it up along this return fuel line that runs all the way back. And yeah, that should be fine. I'll put a zip tie near every clamp or strap or whatever you want to call them, and that should support it pretty well. And that'll just give us a little extra something too behind this line in case it ever vibrates, which really these lines are pretty tight, but in case it ever wants to vibrate, hit the frame, do anything weird. I don't think it will, but yeah, everything fit pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it overall. Don't have anything rubbing in any weird spots or anything. There were a whole bunch of rivets back in that area that I had to, arch the lines out and around them. But yeah, nothing too crazy. So anyways, we'll keep at it and get these harnesses ran back, and then we'll start working on the fuel supply line, which should be fun. Well, I've got the fuel return line for the rear tank ran, the brake line ran, and our harnesses pulled back as far as I can get them for now. I've got some work to do on them yet, but they're back past where the front fuel tank is going to hang. So now I need to get this monstrous fuel line ran down the frame rail. This is 5/8 aluminum tubing from Summit Racing Equipment. It's got a little over a 1/2 inch ID, and we'll be using 5/8 compression fittings to get us down to our 1/2 inch hose wherever we need to. I also have our WVO Designs heated filter head that I got to find a place to mount up on the frame. I think I'm going to relocate the filter from where I had it originally, which was right here, to somewhere up a little further forward, so I don't have to run coolant lines as far. And yeah, I think I also need to integrate a flat plate heat exchanger in this setup as well, but I'm not sure on that yet. But anyways, I think, and it's getting pretty late, I think we're creeping up on 1:30 in the morning. So I'm going to start running this fuel line here. See how far I get. Hopefully the goal is to get it up past where the side saddle fuel tank goes, so I can get it out of its box and get it put up in place. Yeah, we'll see. I'm running out of steam though, and tomorrow is a whole nother day, so I might not be out here much longer tonight. We'll see. Not gonna lie, this may be a bit excessive. Not sure I can call it fuel line anymore. Maybe fuel pipe? Yeah, probably fuel pipe. Well, that said, this stuff is stupid easy to work with. It really easy to manipulate and maneuver into place. You wouldn't think it would be with how big it is, but it really is. And I mean, it's solid. It's clamped into place nicely. I've got it ran all the way forward up to just behind the transfer case. So I believe I'm going to build a bracket up in this area that I can hang my filter from, right behind the transfer case, up in this pocket, so I can get it up a little higher, get me more, keep the filter up as high as I can. But yeah, overall I am really impressed with this line. So I'm gonna have some extra, but I'm not gonna run this size on the diesel tank. There's no point in it. Yeah, definitely no point in that. But I do have some extra 3/8 aluminum left over, so I may run the supply from the diesel tank in that. Not sure yet. I may have to order some more if I'm gonna do that, but because I'll have to run a return line as well. But it's getting there. So we've got all the lines and such ran. Let's adjust our lighting here. We've got all our lines and such ran that are going to be behind the fuel tank. Got everything painted up that I won't be able to get to with the fuel tank in place. So it looks like I can get the new diesel tank put up in place, get it plumbed too. So yeah, we're getting really close. So I've got the return line ran all the way back to the big tank in the back, supply line as well, so I can go on and hook those up. And we'll have everything plumbed up to the valves basically. So yeah, it's getting really close, really close. With that said, oh, let's see what time it is. It is 2 a.m. I'm calling it for the night, and yeah, we'll come back out maybe tomorrow night. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. So got a lot to do with the family and everything, but we'll see what tomorrow night brings. If I can get back out here after everybody goes to sleep, we'll see if we can get more done. But anyways, we'll catch you in a bit. Well, it's another day, and we're out trying to get the second fuel tank ready to put in the truck. Got my aftermarket sender mounted, which I did make sure underneath the truck that this wouldn't be interfering with anything under the bed or anything. Got the factory sending unit or pickup put in place. The sending unit's gone off of it. I extended the pickup down to the sump area on the tank. I did not put a sump kit on this tank. It's not necessary. This will only have diesel fuel in it. Be running 3/8 line front to back. That'll be plenty on diesel. So anyways, I've got new straps and everything. I'm gonna go on, get this slid up under the truck, get it mounted, and hopefully we'll start getting somewhere on the rest of the plumbing. Well, as you can see, the fuel tank is slid under here, but it's not put in yet, and that's because the straps that I ordered came in wrong. So yeah, yay. So I've got straps ordered. They'll be here tomorrow. Hopefully they come in correct. So in the meantime, I've been working on plumbing the supply line from the 38-gallon tank in the back. So we've got it all clamped up, bent up nice. Compression fitting at the filter head, which this is a Heated WVO Designs filter head. 1x14 filter that I run, threaded right on, so no issues there. And it's got good clearance around everything, and it doesn't sit too low below the frame rail. As you can see, the transmission cross member sits lower than the filter, so not too worried about it hitting anything. But I've got my 1/2-inch soft line from the valve. It's gonna come right up and tie into this port. So yeah, we'll still have soft lines up to the valves themselves. That way everything's still movable. I can unbolt and remove the interior panel where the valves are mounted and work on them if I need to. But yeah, it's coming along. Not too much longer, and I'll be able to put a little bit of fuel in the back tank and see if we've got any leaks around the sump or anything like that. But yeah, we are getting real close to having this thing drivable again on the new fuel system. Well, we're back out in the shop tonight, and we finally got our tank straps in for our midship tank. So we're gonna get that mounted tonight, I think. But sorry for the noise. It's 20 some odd degrees out. The shop is cold. Got the pellet stove running full tilt. What I'm working on right now is the fuel pickup setup for the cab heater on the flatbed. Previously, I had a tank mounted behind the seat, and I don't want that anymore. So we're gonna run this setup, which I've got to just cut this to length, slide this down into the main tank, screw it down, and then we'll be able to pull fuel from the main diesel tank on the truck for the cab heater. But once I get that mounted, this tank is ready to go up in place, and that will put us a big step forward, closer to getting this thing done. After that tank's mounted, then the bed can sit down in place, reattach the bed. Then all we got is the fill tubes and some wiring, and we're on the home stretch. It's amazing how when you have the right straps, the tank fits. Anywho, now that we've got that done, I'm gonna go on and drag the old side saddle up a little bit and pump its contents into this tank, and then we can get that one out of the way. And then yeah, all we've got to do on this one is plumb the supply and return, which will be pretty straightforward, I think. And we'll go from there. So I've got all of our fuel lines ran. I replaced the return and supply to the primary tank, and as you can see, we're using fuel injection clamps this time. Reason being is I was having some trouble with the worm gear clamps backing off for some reason. So Went with these this time. We'll see how they work. Who knows? But got everything done on the front side and just about to wrap up the tank side. And down under the truck, you see we're running Thermotech wrap on both these lines coming down. Got the return is aluminum, supply is steel because it was already ran, so might as well keep it. It works, but I redid the clamps and everything as far as how it's mounted all the way back to the tank. And up here, hooked up to the tank, again, fuel injection clamps all the way around. So we should have good leak-free connections this time. So the diesel side is ready to prime up, which we're not going to do that tonight. But next up, I do need to hook up the fuel supply line to the cab heater, and I've got some wiring to do. I need to hook up the cinders, which I've got wiring pre-ran for all of those. I've also got ground wires off each sending unit I'm going to run to the frame rails. But yeah, then the bed is ready to sit back down in place and attach, and then we can hook up our fuel fills and hook up the wiring to the lights on the back, and we're pretty well wrapping it up. This fuel tank here is now empty, so I can unhook my little pump setup, drag this outside, get it out of the way. But yeah, as far as what's left until the thing can be driven on the street again, like I said, got to get the bed back down in place and attached to the frame, which I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. It was welded on, and I don't really like that, so I'm probably going to weld some plate to the frame on the bed and then bolt it to the frame on the truck, I think. Not 100% sure there yet, but we'll figure that out when we get there. Then all that's left is to button up the wiring on the back. It's not a big deal. Everything's already ran. So the fuel system's pretty well done. Fuel-wise, I have not ran coolant lines to the heated filter head and such yet, because I'm not sure if I'm going to put a flat plate heat exchanger on it yet. So I'm going to wait on that. It's not really a big deal either way. But then, before it goes back on the road, I've got, let's see back here, a new set of 37s for it. They've been sitting in the corner for a bit. They're military takeoffs. They're probably outdated. Doesn't really matter to me. These tires that I've got on this truck were outdated when I put them on. They were seconds, and they were not in the greatest of shape, but I drove on them for 5 or 6 years. Never had an issue out of any of them. They're just starting to really dry rot and stuff, so got the new set. Gonna mount those up, get them balanced, and then we should be good. I've got piddly stuff to do maintenance wise. Need to service it out. I do need to go through the kingpins on the front end and some other little things like that, but yeah, we're getting real close to having this thing drivable again, finally. I do have new cab weather stripping, stuff like that, but that won't take any time to put on. Cab lights, you know, just probably a good day of work left, and it'll be on the road again. Hoping that happens by the end of this weekend, which how these videos are dropping, I'm quite a bit of this by the time this video drops, hopefully this thing's already been on the road and driving again. But anywho, with all that said, I'm gonna wrap this one up here. We've got our fuel system plumbed up. That was the goal. So yeah, if you got any comments, questions, complaints, drop them in the comment section below. I will try to leave links in the video description to everything I've used as far as fuel lines, the tanks, all of that stuff. I'll leave links in the video description. With that said, if you would, hit that thumbs up button. It helps us out quite a bit and doesn't cost you anything. If you want to support the channel, got a PayPal account set up. Link to that's in the video description as well. And you can get our merch, our black diesel gear from the website. It's www.notsograndgarage.com. With all that said, If you haven't already, please subscribe. We appreciate you watching.